Yeah, thank you everybody, and thank you for the invite from the Immigrant Council of Ireland to speak to you all today. As Miriam said, my name is Geraldine Greene. I'm a sergeant in the Diversity and Integration Unit, and we are part of a larger Community Engagement Bureau. We're a very small unit, but with a huge remit. So our biggest responsibility is building relationships both within An Garda Síochána and externally in the community in terms of providing a service and a better service to victims. That's victims of racism we're focusing on today, and the bigger part, which is hate crime, and focusing on victims of hate crime. So it's well known, and as Valeria spoke, there is an underreporting of racism and of hate crime in general. And this is something that we're working on constantly in our small unit to change. So the first thing was in 2019, we introduced our diversity and integration strategy for 2019 to 2021, and we've published that in 14 different languages. And the strategy contains a definition for hate crime, and that's the first time An Garda Síochána has actually formalised a definition for hate crime, and it also includes a definition for non-crime hate incidents, and I'll speak about that more in a second. We're glad to say now we have 281 Garda diversity officers in place throughout the country, and they're supported by a diversity inspector in every division in the country. We've also made huge changes to our Pulse system, and that's our crime recording system. And those changes were carried out in October of last year, and they include, I'll just run briefly through what those changes are. It now allows for the formal recording of non-crime incidents, and these are incidents that don't meet the threshold of a criminal offence. And heretofore, people may not have thought that whatever happened to them wasn't important enough to report to the guards. And we're here to tell you, yes, it is. If it's important to you, it's important to us. And we work off a very low threshold of perception. And that is in that if it's perceived by either you, a victim, a family member, a friend, somebody else acting in your best interest, if you perceive that you have been a victim of racism, that is sufficient for An Garda Síochána to take that report from you, and we're obliged to do that. The issue of investigation and prosecution is a different matter, and obviously we would need further evidence to gather for that. But to take a report, we are obliged to do that. All we need is your perception. There's also a mandatory hate tick box on all Pulse incidents now, and that then triggers the selection of one of the 9 discriminatory motives which are included in our hate crime definition. So it allows for much better recording, much accurate recording of your account of what has happened, and it ensures that it's flagged correctly with a H identifier. So that allows for much better analysis of this kind of crime. It allows us to look at trends, repeat victimization, and repeat offending. We also then established a diversity forum, a national diversity forum, and Valeria and Teresa are part of that, I'm glad to say, and also Einar. And they are there to oversee the implementation of our diversity strategy and make sure we're doing what we've said we're going to do, that we're not paying lip service, that this is a working document. It's something that we take very seriously, and we welcome the oversight and the monitoring. Also, some really good news, and I heard you mentioning there about, the accessibility of reporting. We have an online hate crime reporting developed and fully finished and ready to be launched. And we're going to launch that in March when we have our Hate Crime Awareness Week. We're also working with our HR counterparts to encourage recruitment from diverse and minority groups, because this is the way we see to encourage people to report to us if there's more representation. So just some practical tips then in relation to reporting racism, and maybe to touch on some of the things that Valeria mentioned. Always report racism to An Garda Síochána. If it might seem unimportant or trivial to you or not, that it won't be taken seriously. If it matters to you, like I said, it will matter to us, and your perception is what matters. Sharing on social media is useful in terms of awareness and spreading the message, but it doesn't alert us officially. We may see it when we're monitoring social media, but it needs to be reported to us. You can also then use a third-party referrer, such as the Immigrant Council or INAR or any other agency, to report to us. We now have third-party referring in place. You will be able to use our online reporting from next month, and that will be available through the Garda website.